Thai people generally won't let you know when you've made a cultural blunder. This is because they don't want you to lose face. This may seem a little weird to you, and if it does, please keep watching. In this video I want to share with you some tips and ideas that I've gained through my 20 plus years of experience living here that will help you come to grips with Thai culture and understanding Thai politeness and avoiding making mistakes that could be embarrassing for you and for the people that you're connecting with when you visit Thailand. Two of the things that really impressed me when I first came here, and that still do impress me about so many of the Thai people, is their respect and their dedication to service. And this is something that is quite often quite different than in Western cultures. And it's also tied in with the very Thai and also very Asian. It's a cross-cultural thing amongst many Asian cultures. And this is the idea of losing face yourself or causing someone else to lose face. This is to cause embarrassment, and it can be very sensitive. It can happen quite easily. But the Thai people are very respectful and very forgiving for foreigners when we don't understand the cultural ways. They also very much respect people who do make an effort to fit in and to understand and to respond in a good manner to cultural things that might be quite different than they are back in our home countries. And for this reason, I think it's really important to respect the notion of not losing face and do our best not to cause anybody to lose face when we can. This can be quite challenging if you're of the personality to really stand up for your own rights and to really push into getting what you want when you want it, because that doesn't always fit the Thai culture, the Thai tradition, and the Thai way of doing things. Quite often approaching a situation with humility and a cool heart, what the Thai refer to as being jai yen yen, that's being cool-hearted, is the best approach, because it will avoid any loss of face, or even if there is some loss of face, it can be kind of glossed over and you can go about your way peacefully and everyone can get on with their day. And this is quite challenging at times because the Thai people, and I'm still getting used to this, the Thai people are so polite and so respectful most of the time. Possibly not so much in the tourist areas, and I think this is cross-cultural anywhere you go in the world. You'll find that in the more touristic places where there's a lot of people coming, where there's a lot of foreigners arriving who have really generally got not much idea at all about the Thai way of doing things, then the reaction, the response from local people is going to be kind of dampened, or the edge has been knocked off the culture somehow by this continual flow of tourists who don't have a clue about what's polite and what's not polite. And this, of course, is not about everybody. I know if you're watching this video, you have an interest already in wanting to behave and react and communicate in a good, polite manner when you visit the Kingdom of Thailand. I notice very often that one of the most simple but misunderstood things in Thailand is the Y, the Thai greeting, where they press their hands together and acknowledge somebody that they're meeting. It's very similar to what a handshake would be in Western culture, but without any human contact, which these days is quite preferable. So when you're meeting somebody that is of a similar age to you or of a similar status to you in society, you put your hands together and you put your thumbs like this and you position them just under your chin and give a slight bow. When you meet somebody that's maybe of a higher status or maybe a bit older than you, the same gesture, but you raise your hands a little bit higher so your thumbs come in just under your nose, and again give a bow. And for meeting, say, a monk or someone of very high status, or if you're wearing a Buddha image, then you raise your hands up to the level of your forehead. And for a more casual way, it's just generally at chest level, and that is acceptable for people that are you're not really acquainted with or you don't really know. And even so, I was talking to my wife about these things and she said, well, this is changing in Thai society. It is not so strictly adhered to, but generally speaking, you will only wire somebody who, if you're from a Western culture, that you would normally shake hands with. So when you go to the restaurant, for example, and the waiter comes to take your order or to show you to your seat, you don't generally wire the waiter. This would seem inappropriate, it would seem a bit strange. Most Thais who are used to foreigners will understand this and they won't bat an eyelid. But sure, once you've finished your meal, if your waiter's been particularly helpful and provided really good service, then sure, you can wire them and thank them for their service. One of the other key things is when you're sitting, especially if you're sitting on the floor, and this is relatively common in some situations in Thailand, in a temple or in a social gathering, sometimes people will sit on the floor. And what's really important is to make sure that your feet are tucked away and tucked behind you and not pointing at other people or at Buddha statues or images. This is because in Thai culture, the feet are considered to be the lowest part of the body and that it's impolite for them to be pointing in the direction of another person. And then the opposite of this is never touch anybody on the head, even children, because the head is the upper part of the body and it is considered impolite to touch anybody on the head. And another thing that's quite different than in Western culture, Thai people usually take their shoes off before they enter their house. So if you're going to someone's house or if you're going into a temple or even into some businesses, have a look to see if it's appropriate or polite to be wearing your shoes or if you need to take them off. And the easiest way to see this is by just looking around outside the door that you're entering, and if there's a bunch of shoes out there, then also take yours off and put them to the side of the door and you can pop them back on when you come out again. And whether you're in a temple or anywhere else where there's Buddha images, you must show respect to the Buddha image. You've got to be careful not to do anything that would appear disrespectful. This also goes for anything to do with the Thai royal family. You'll find the image of the king on every single piece of currency in Thailand. So if you drop a 10 baht coin on the ground and it's rolling away, just hesitate. Don't stick your foot out to stop it because that would be considered very impolite. You're putting the lowest part of your body on an image of the head of the king, and this is not appropriate. You need to bend down and pick up the coin that you've dropped rather than stop it with your foot. And you'll notice too, in most businesses, even sometimes outside the business and inside people's homes, you'll find images of the King of Thailand proudly presented and proudly displayed because the King is the head of this country and very highly revered in Thailand. And something else that it's not appropriate to do towards people or again towards Buddha images is to point. Don't point with a single finger. If you want to gesture to something, use your whole hand, or quite often Thai people will even just point with a nod, a raise of their chin like this if they want to point at something rather than pointing directly, but you can do it with your hand or your chin like that, and this is considered to be much more acceptable than pointing with a single finger. And when you're out and about in public places, and particularly in and around temples, if you're with your partner, don't be showing signs of affection. It's okay to hold hands, but don't be cuddling up and caressing each other and kissing or anything like that in public anywhere, and in particular at the temple. Whether you think anybody's watching or not, it is not appropriate to show affection. And if you're not sure about this, just look at the local Thai people and see what they're doing. And you won't often see people showing affection at all in public. This may seem a little old-fashioned, but you will notice that even younger people and older people in Thailand refrain from showing any affection in public, much more so than in many Western cultures. And also, when you're out and about, dress appropriately. Dress better than if you're going to go to the beach. I mean, unless you're going to the beach, then yeah, that's fine. You can dress in a relaxed manner, but again, watch the Thai people. Look at how Thai people are dressed and dress in a similarly appropriate way. Thai people are generally very conscious of how they look and how they smell, and so they are dressed nicely and groomed well when they're out and about in public. Sure, in the local neighbourhood you'll see people walking around maybe without a shirt on or just in their clothes that they've been doing the gardening or working in, but if you're in the cities, if you're in town, don't be walking around without your shirt on, guys. And women, have a look at how Thai women are dressed. And when you're out and about in public or anywhere at all, don't raise your voice. Don't shout across a restaurant at someone. Don't raise your voice to call your friend from the other side of a store you might be in, or even out in the street. Go across and talk to the person that you want to get their attention, but don't be raising your voice, and certainly don't be showing any strong anger. This is considered to be one of the biggest losses of face in the Thai culture. And when you're sitting at a restaurant, when your food comes, you'll notice that on the plate there'll be a spoon and a fork, or maybe in the tray on the table and a receptacle on the table there'll be a bunch of spoons and a bunch of forks but no knives. In Thailand this is normal. If you're in a noodle shop there'll be chopsticks, but if you're eating rice, use your spoon to eat the rice with. Don't be a Westerner, be more Thai about it. Eat the rice with the spoon. You'll find it's much easier and much more enjoyable way of eating your meal. So there's a few tips and ideas about how to enjoy your stay in the Kingdom of Thailand when you visit. Remember, keep a smile on your face, keep a cool heart, jai yen yen. Don't show your frustration no matter how difficult it might be in the middle of a hot afternoon if you're having a disagreement with a tuk-tuk driver or something similar to that. Just keep smiling and stay calm, and the outcome is going to be much better for both of you. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you've learned something valuable and that you'll be able to put it into practice to help your time in the Kingdom of Thailand be more pleasurable and more enjoyable. Thanks for watching.